What's up guys? Today we're gonna go through all my settings, keybinds, and everything you need to boost your FPS and start out Warzone 2.0. So let's check out my settings. Alright, so let's start out first with my display settings so we can get the best FPS out of Warzone. So currently I use full screen borderless because I stream and I alt tab a lot while I'm playing. But if you want to maximize your FPS, you can use full screen exclusive. For display resolution, if you have a 1080p monitor, just use 1080p. I use a 1440p monitor, that's why I use 2560 x 1440. Because using a 1440p monitor in Warzone gives you really that small edge to see enemies from very far away. Next, we have dynamic resolution. I have it off. Aspect ratio automatic. I've got my VSync off. Then I have my custom frame limit. You want to have this at unlimited. Then here are my other settings for display. Let's move on to quality. I've got my render resolution at 100. But if you really need more FPS or your FPS is really low, you can lower this or just change to another resolution and just have your render resolution at 100. But I'm keeping this at 100 since my FPS is fine. For sharpening, I'm currently using Fidelity FX Cast. I haven't played around with this yet. I want to try out having this in off, but right now I'm just using Fidelity. Maybe in another video I'm gonna update this, but right now I'm using Fidelity. For anti-aliasing, I'm using Filmic. And for the video memory scale, you want to have this at 90 so it will maximize the use of your GPU. For texture resolution, I've got this low. Everything is low, guys. The only thing I've left on is bullet impact and sprays, so I can see my sprays. I've got my shader quality on low, tessellation off, terrain memory in max, and I've got my on-demand texture streaming on. I've got my streaming quality on normal, volumetric quality on low, deferred physics quality off, and water caustics on off. Everything else is on very low, or even turned off. And for my NVIDIA Reflex low latency, I've got it on plus boost like I used to have in Warzone 1, and then everything else is off and at 0. So now we're moving on to the view. You want to have your field of view at 120 so that you can see more around you, and you want to have your ADS field of view unaffected. For weapon field of view, I've put it on wide. Then third person field of view, same, max it out so you get a wider field of view when you're playing in third person, and vehicle field of view wide. And for the camera movement, I've put everything onto the lowest setting so I get less motion sickness while playing. Now, if you're playing third-person mode, you can actually change that when you ADS, it goes into first-person ADS. So if you play in third-person but want to shoot in first-person, you can change this to first-person ADS. Then we have the default spectator camera. You can change it to either game perspective or helmet camera, but I rather have this on game perspective so I can see the exact view of my teammate. So let's move on to my audio settings. I've got my audio mix on headphone bass boost. Then I have everything on 100. Then I got my voice chat on, my last words voice chat on, and my favorite setting, proximity chat. So if you want to hear death comms or make random friends in game, make sure to turn on this proximity chat. If your proximity chat is not working and you can't hear any of your teammates in game, you might want to reinstall your game. That fixed it for me. Then we've got voice chat volume at 100 because I want to hear those death comms and those proximity chats. And you can actually mute yourself when connecting. Make sure if you want to hear that proximity chat to have this on all lobby, but you can also change it to party only or friends only so that you won't hear the toxic stuff that's going on in proximity chat sometimes. And here's the rest of my audio setting. Alright, moving on to my mouse settings. I'm a mouse and keyboard player, so I'm using 800 DPI at a sensitivity of 5. That's a pretty low sense. Then I've got my ADS sensitivity multiplier at 1. We've got ADS sensitivity type at relative. Monitor distance coefficient 1.33. And I haven't changed anything on these settings. Make sure you have your mouse acceleration on 0 so that your aim is consistent. Moving on to gameplay, I have my crouch behavior on toggle, prone behavior on toggle. I use auto tac sprint, but that depends on you. If you want to use auto tac sprint, you can also just use shift, but I'm too lazy, so I just use automatic tac sprint. Next, I've got my automatic airborne mantle on off because I want to be the one who decides when I parachute, although I die from fall damage sometimes because of that. And we got our share slide and dive inputs on independence, so they're gonna be different keys. Here are the rest of my settings. Most notable here is that I've got my armor plate behavior on apply all so that you will press the armor plate button only once. Let's move into movement advanced settings. So here are my settings for movement advanced settings. There you go. And next we got the combat advanced settings. Let's move on to the combat advanced settings. Here are my settings for this one. So you can just pause the video here and follow these ones. And lastly, let's move on to my keybinds. So I changed some of the keybinds to my liking. So most notably here, I've changed my weapon mount to letter T, my melee to letter E, my lethal equipment to middle mouse, and my armor plate to number 4 because that's what I'm used to during Warzone 1. I've got my stow button for number 5. And if you played Warzone 1 and just want to have like the old ping, I've changed my ping to alt, whereas the default one would be the ping wheel. I don't use the ping wheel, that's why I just use ping. And here's the rest of my keybinds for this section. Let's go into the combat advanced keybinds. I didn't change much here except for like the kill streaks and the equipment, which in Warzone you don't actually need. For vehicle advanced keybinds, I haven't changed anything here, so I don't need to show you this. And for menu advanced keybinds, I haven't changed anything as well, so I'm using everything on default on there. Alright, so that's it for my Warzone 2.0 settings. I might update this in the future, I will let you know. You can tweak this in any way you want, but if you want to follow my settings, these are my settings. I hope this video helped you out, and if you have any other questions, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Thank you so much for watching, guys.